In the shadowed heart of Renaissance Italy, where the Arno River coiled like a serpent through the labyrinthine streets of Florence, the year 1492 dawned under a veil of crimson skies. The city, a jewel encrusted in marble and intrigue, pulsed with the fevered ambitions of merchants, artists and princes. Towering palazzos loomed over narrow alleys, where whispers of heresy mingled with the scent of blooming oleanders and the distant toll of cathedral bells. It was an era of rebirth, they called it, yet beneath the gilded frescoes and the triumphant arches, decay festered like an unspoken plague. The Medici ruled with silken gloves over iron fists, their courts a theatre of opulent masquerades where virtue was but a mask, easily discarded in the pursuit of power. The air hung heavy with omens that summer. Ravens gathered in unnatural flocks atop the Duomo's dome, their cries echoing like fractured prophecies. Astrologers murmured of planetary alignments that foretold upheavals in the houses of the mighty, alignments that would expose the fragile threads binding loyalty and lust. In the grand halls of the Palazzo Vecchio, where tapestries depicted ancient gods entangled in mortal follies, a young duchess named Isabella emerged as the unwitting harbinger. Fair of face and sharp of mind, she was the daughter of a lesser noble, wedded to the aging Duke Lorenzo in a union forged not of love, but of alliances that spanned the fractured states of Italy. Her eyes, deep as the Tuscan night, held a quiet defiance, a spark that drew courtiers like moths to flame. Yet the city held its breath, for rumours slithered through the cobblestones, whispers of secret gatherings in hidden chambers, where the elite indulged in rites that blurred the lines between devotion and debauchery. These were not mere revels, but rituals cloaked in the guise of intellectual salons, echoing the ancient bacchanals, yet twisted by the ambitions of the age. Scholars debated forbidden texts under candlelight, while masked figures danced to lutes that played melodies of forgotten sins. Isabella, innocent yet curious, found herself drawn to these circles, invited by her husband's enigmatic advisor, the sly Cardinal Vincenzo, whose smile concealed daggers of manipulation. As the sun dipped below the hills one fateful evening, an omen materialized in the form of a comet streaking across the velvet sky, its tail a fiery accusation. The people gathered in the Piazza della Signoria, murmuring prayers, while in the Duke's private chambers, a poisoned chalice was subtly placed, untouched, yet pregnant with intent. Isabella, gazing from her balcony, felt a chill wind stir the hem of her gown, carrying the faint echo of laughter from below. The city held its breath, sensing the storm that brewed in the hearts of its rulers, where power's embrace often led to shame's cruel unmasking. That night, as the comet faded, Isabella dreamed of shadows entwining like lovers in betrayal, their forms shifting in the moonlight. The dream lingered upon waking, a foreshadowing of the conflicts to come, of alliances forged in fire and secrets that would unravel the very fabric of her world. And so, the stage was set. The players assembled, waiting for the first act of a tragedy that would echo through the annals of time. The city held its breath, for in the hush before the dawn, the true games of power were about to begin. Amid the opulent corridors of the palazzo, where mirrors reflected infinite deceptions and velvet curtains muffled treacherous whispers, the power game unfolded like a meticulously plotted chessboard. Duke Lorenzo, his once vigorous frame now bent by years of scheming, held court with the gravity of a fading titan. His alliances stretched from the Vatican to the distant courts of Milan and Venice, bound by marriages, bribes, and the subtle art of patronage. Yet his greatest asset, or peril, was Isabella, whose beauty and intellect made her a pawn coveted by many. She navigated the labyrinth of nobility with a grace that masked her inner turmoil, her every step a dance on the edge of propriety. Enter the key players: Cardinal Vincenzo, a serpent in scarlet robes, whose eyes gleamed with the hunger of unquenched ambition. Rumoured to be the Duke's bastard brother, he wielded the church's influence like a poisoned stiletto, whispering confessions that could topple empires. Opposite him stood the enigmatic Contessa Maria, a widow of Venetian nobility, her dark tresses and sharper wit concealing a network of spies that infiltrated every salon. She allied with Vincenzo in shadows, their secret pact sealed in a moonlit garden where vows of mutual assent were exchanged over goblets of spiced wine, their stakes control of Florence's trade routes, the Duke's ear, and ultimately the soul of the city itself. Isabella, caught in this web, formed her own fragile bonds. She confided in her lady-in-waiting, Elena, a resilient soul from the countryside whose loyalty was born of shared hardships. Together they uncovered fragments of the Cardinal's plots, coded letters hidden in illuminated manuscripts, detailing gatherings where the elite explored the boundaries of human desire, not for pleasure alone, but to forge unbreakable loyalties through shared vulnerability. These Nights of Revelation, as they were euphemistically called, were held in the undercroft of an ancient villa, where masks and incense cloaked identities and confessions flowed like rivers of absolution. The Duke, weakened by age, turned a blind eye, seeing them as necessary indulgences to maintain power's fragile equilibrium. The city held its breath as tensions simmered. One evening, during a grand masque in honour of the Medici patrons, alliances shifted like sands in a storm. Isabella, adorned in a gown of emerald silk embroidered with golden serpents, danced with the cardinal under the watchful eyes of the court. His hand lingered too long on her waist, his words a velvet trap. Power, my dear, is not seized. It is surrendered to, in moments of exquisite abandon. She felt the weight of secrets pressing upon her, the stakes rising as Maria approached, her smile ablaid. "Join us," the Contessa urged in a hushed tone, "and reshape your fate from victim to victor." Isabella's resilience flickered, her psychology a battlefield of duty and desire. She resisted, yet the allure of influence gnawed at her. Meanwhile, the Duke confided his fears to her in private, fears of betrayal, of a legacy tainted by the very excesses he permitted. "The heart of man is a dark chamber," he murmured, "where shame hides until the light exposes it." Unbeknownst to him, Vincenzo plotted to expose the Duke's own indiscretions, gathered from those shadowed rites to claim the throne. As the masque dissolved into dawn, Isabella retreated to her chambers, her mind a whirlwind of loyalties tested and secrets unearthed. The city held its breath, for in the delicate balance of power, one misstep could shatter the illusions that held Florence together. And in that fragile dawn the turning point loomed, a betrayal that would strip away the veils of deception. The air in Florence grew thick with the perfume of impending ruin, as summer yielded to the golden decay of autumn leaves swirling through the streets like fallen empires. In the heart of the palazzo's secret annex, where vaulted ceilings echoed with the ghosts of past intrigues, the betrayal ignited like a spark in dry tinder. Isabella, drawn deeper into the web by curiosity and a thirst for agency, attended her first night of revelation, under the cardinal's insistent invitation. Masked in anonymity, she entered the villa's undercroft, where torches flickered against walls adorned with faded murals of Dionysian frenzies, symbols of excess that mirrored the human soul's hidden cravings. The gathering was a mosaic of the elite, nobles, artists, and clergy, their identities shrouded, their voices altered by the haze of incense and wine. Vincenzo, cloaked as a shadowy oracle, orchestrated the rites with masterful precision, weaving confessions that bound participants in chains of mutual shame. "Here, we expose our frailties," he intoned, "and in exposure we find unbreakable power." Isabella watched from the periphery, her heart pounding as alliances were forged through whispered vulnerabilities, secrets of forbidden liaisons, ambitions that skirted heresy, and acts that tested the boundaries of resilience. No overt indecencies marred the surface, yet the atmosphere pulsed with an undercurrent of psychological surrender, where shame became the currency of loyalty. The turning point shattered the illusion when Maria, driven by jealousy over Isabella's growing favour with the Duke, unmasked a plot within the plot. In a private alcove, she revealed to Vincenzo intercepted letters from Isabella to Elena, letters that hinted at the Duchess's intent to warn the Duke of the Cardinal's machinations. "She is no ally," Maria hissed, her eyes alight with vengeance. "Expose her, and the Duke falls with her." Vincenzo, sensing opportunity, orchestrated the main act. During the climax of the rite, a staged confession implicated Isabella in fabricated indiscretions, echoes of the Duke's own past, twisted to suggest her complicity in undermining his rule. The exposure came swift and merciless. As the masks fell in a ceremonial unveiling, accusations rang out like thunder. Isabella stood accused of betrayal, her name linked to scandals that painted her as the architect of the Duke's shame. The Duke, summoned under false pretenses, arrived to witness the unravelling, his wife's supposed secrets laid bare in a tableau of manipulated evidence. "How could you?" he roared, his voice cracking with the weight of loss, his trust shattered like fragile Venetian glass. Isabella's protests drowned in the chorus of condemnation, her resilience tested as the court turned upon her, their gazes heavy with feigned outrage. The city held its breath as word spread through the alleys, whispers amplifying the scandal into a tempest that threatened the Medici's grip. Vincenzo and Maria seized the moment, forging new alliances amid the chaos, their stakes secured through the Duchess's downfall. Isabella, stripped of her status, felt the raw sting of exposure, not of flesh, but of soul, her psychology fracturing under the burden of undeserved shame. Yet in that abyss, a spark of defiance kindled, a quiet vow to reclaim her narrative. As she was led away to confinement in a remote tower, the autumn winds howled through the city, carrying the echoes of betrayal. The city held its breath, for in the crucible of loss, transformation awaited the broken. And from the depths of that night, the seeds of resilience began to stir, reshaping fate through the alchemy of pain. In the solitary confines of the tower overlooking the rolling Tuscan hills, where ivy clung to stone walls like forgotten regrets, Isabella's transformation unfolded like a phoenix, forged in the fires of adversity. The months blurred into a tapestry of introspection, the once vibrant Duchess reduced to shadows and silence, her only companions the distant toll of bells and the relentless whisper of the wind. Shame, that insidious spectre, wrapped around her like a shroud, probing the depths of her psychology, questioning her choices, her alliances, her very essence. Yet in this isolation, resilience bloomed, a quiet force that reshaped her, from victim to architect of her own redemption. She reflected on the power games that had ensnared her, dissecting the intricacies of human frailty. The rites she had witnessed, those veiled explorations of vulnerability, now served as lessons in the art of endurance. "Shame is but a mirror," she murmured to the empty air, reflecting not our sins but our strength to confront them. Elena, her loyal confidant, smuggled messages and tomes of philosophy, works by Plato and the Stoics, that fueled Isabella's inner revolution. Through pain's harsh tutelage, she learned to wield secrets not as weapons of destruction, but as tools of empowerment. Her mind, once a garden of naivety, hardened into a fortress of strategic wisdom. Meanwhile, Florence teetered under Vincenzo's ascendant shadow. The cardinal, now regent in the Duke's waning health, imposed draconian edicts, his alliances with Maria fracturing under the weight of mutual suspicion. The city held its breath as unrest simmered. Peasants murmured of tyranny, artists fled to rival courts, and the once opulent salons devolved into dens of paranoia. The Duke, haunted by doubt, languished in his chambers, his legacy tainted by the scandal he had unwittingly amplified. In secret, he dispatched envoys to Isabella, seeking counsel that revealed his own transformation, a humbled ruler grappling with the cost of unchecked ambition. Isabella's pivotal moment came during a stormy eve, when Elena orchestrated a daring escape. Disguised as a pilgrim, the Duchess traversed hidden passages, her heart aflame with purpose. She infiltrated the Undercroft once more, not as participant, but as avenger. Confronting Vincenzo amid the flickering torches, she unveiled his own secrets, documents proving his bastardy and embezzlement, gathered through Elena's network. "Power devours its wielders," she declared, her voice steady as steel. The cardinal's facade crumbled, his shame exposed in the very arena he had mastered. Maria, witnessing the reversal, fled into exile, her resilience shattered by the tide of retribution. Through this ordeal, Isabella's psychology evolved. Shame became a catalyst for growth, transforming vulnerability into unyielding strength. She reconciled with the Duke, their union reforged in mutual understanding, a testament to human capacity for renewal. The city held its breath as she returned, not as the naive bride, but as a consort of iron will, influencing policies that tempered excess with justice. Her pain had alchemized into wisdom, reshaping her fate from one of subjugation to sovereignty. As winter's frost blanketed the Arno, Isabella stood upon the palazzo's balcony, gazing at the stars that had once omened doom. The city held its breath, for in her eyes burned the light of transformation, a beacon for the ages, and thus from the ashes of betrayal, a legacy was born, one that history would weave into myth. In the twilight of the Renaissance, as Florence's spires pierced a sky painted with the hues of eternal memory, the legacy of that tumultuous era crystallized like amber preserving a fleeting moment. Decades later, chroniclers in dusty libraries penned tales of Isabella's saga, distorting truths through this prism of time and bias. What began as a scandal of power and shame evolved into legend, a cautionary epic whispered in courts from Rome to Paris, where her name evoked both reverence and warning. Artists captured her in frescoes, her form ethereal yet resolute, symbolizing the human spirit's triumph over adversity. History remembered the Nights of Revelation, not as mere indulgences, but as metaphors for the era's psychological depths, the shadowy underbelly where ambition and frailty intertwined. Vincenzo's fall was chronicled as divine retribution, his ambitions reduced to footnotes of hubris, while Maria's exile faded into obscurity, a ghost in the annals. The Duke, in his final years, ruled with tempered wisdom, crediting Isabella's influence for Florence's renewed prosperity. Yet distortions crept in. Some tales painted her as a siren of seduction, others as a saint of resilience, each version shaped by the teller's agenda. The city held its breath in these retellings, as if the past still lingered, its lessons echoing through generations. Isabella, in her elder years, became a patroness of the arts and philosophy, founding academies where scholars explored the intricacies of the human psyche without the veil of shame. Her writings, veiled in allegory, spoke of transformation through pain. In the crucible of exposure, we forge our truest selves. Her legacy extended beyond borders, inspiring women in distant lands to claim agency amid patriarchal webs. The recurring imagery of masks and shadows persisted in folklore, a motif reminding all that power's games often conceal the soul's deepest battles. Poetically, the comet that once omened doom was reimagined as a harbinger of renewal, its trail a path from darkness to light. Florence flourished, its streets alive with the resilience she embodied, yet the undercurrents of human psychology remained, eternal cycles of alliance, betrayal, and rebirth. In quiet moments, elders recounted her story to wide-eyed youths, ending with reflections on how shame, when confronted, births unbreakable strength. The city held its breath no longer, for in the weave of history, Isabella's transformation endured, a cinematic closure to an age of shadows, where power bowed to the indomitable will of the human heart. And so, as the Arno flowed onward, carrying secrets to the sea, the legacy whispered, "In every era's darkness, resilience awaits its dawn."